Welcome to this, the fourth in a series of interviews with noted scholars on the content of the We the People, the Citizen and the Constitution text of the Center for Civic Education. I'm Greg Bernstein, Senior Consultant to the Center for Civic Education, and I'm your host for the series. Our guest scholar is David Adler, current president of the Alturas Institute and adjunct professor of law at the University of Idaho College of Law and former director of the Andrus Center for Public Policy at Boise State University. Mr. Adler, welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be with you, Greg.
We'll start by examining the first lesson of Unit 4, Lesson 21, which asks the question, what is the role of Congress in American constitutional democracy? So let me start by asking you, in general, how does Congress differ from the British Parliament? And more specifically, what are the similarities and differences between the British House of Lords and the U.S. Senate?
Well, Greg, while there are some similarities, principally that they're both representative branches in their respective governments, the reality is the differences far outweigh the similarities. In Congress, we're talking about a branch of government which James Madison believed was not only the first branch, but because we were building a republic, ought to, in his words, ought to dominate the system. And thus Congress is the recipient of more powers from the Constitution than any of the other branches of government. But when we think about Congress as a representative branch, we're talking about the branch of the people, that in fact Congress is expected to represent all the people. Now there's a stark difference from Parliament, particularly the House of Lords. Had in fact been a largely hereditary body. Most members had inherited titles of nobility, but in 1999 Parliament ended that. What Parliament really represents is a method of representing the people of England according to classes in that country. And the House of Lords was understood to be representative of the peers, and that ended in 1999, as I say. Now most of the members of the House of Lords, about 1,200 people in the House of Lords, are now drawn from the ranks of lawyers and scientists and clergy and businessmen who are selected primarily because of their accomplishments and their contributions to society. The Senate, on the other hand, as a counterpart, was not understood to be representing a class of people, even though there might be distinctions in America along the lines culturally, economically, politically, and by birthright. The reality is that the Senate was expected to represent all the people in the respective states throughout the country. And when you think about the differences in power exercised by those two branches, we're talking about stark differences. The House of Lords does not have very much power anymore. It still is the branch which is the ultimate court of appeals for civil law in England, and still is the ultimate court of law hearing appeals on criminal law from Wales, for example, and Northern Ireland, in Ireland. And when we talk about its constitutional authority, it doesn't begin to compare to the powers wielded by the Senate. Let me run through some of those very quickly. The Senate has very broad powers in the area of foreign affairs, for example. It's a co-partner with the president in making treaties, a co-partner with the president in the appointment power, which now and then raises considerable controversies. It also, of course, is the co-equal of the House of Representatives and thus has a principal role in making law. The House of Lords doesn't have that authority, and so there are stark dissimilarities.
Is there anything else to add about the similarities and differences between the British House of Commons and the U.S. House of Representatives?
Yes. There are some interesting similarities and some stark differences as well. Of course, the House of Commons wields the ultimate authority in Great Britain. It's the end-all with respect to the authority. And in the Congress of the United States, when we talk about the House of Representatives, we're talking about one of two co-equal departments in Congress, and House of Commons far outweighs the authority of the House of Lords. There's no difference at all. The House of Commons authority, because it exists in a parliamentary system, means that it's going to wield significant power, great power, with respect to the executive branch, because, as students know, the executive and legislative authorities are essentially fused in the parliamentary system. But in America, under our separation of powers system, the House of Representatives is a very important voice, but it shares powers with the Senate. And of course, it has no authority, as does the House of Commons, to select the prime executive leader in the country. And with the exception of extraordinary means, including impeachment, the House of Representatives does not play a significant role in the selection of our chief executive. The House of Representatives does have the ability to greatly influence policy, but its authority doesn't begin to compare to the authority wielded by the House of Commons.